All right, a CrossFitter tries men's pro Hyrox. So I'll cut to the chase. This was my first Hyrox. I'd never done an open or a doubles. I finished in 1:18:27. Little background on me. My name's John. I'm an amateur CrossFitter. I've been doing CrossFit religiously since 2013, 5-6 times a week. I'm typically in the top 2 to 5% of CrossFitters in the annual CrossFit Open and quarterfinals. I would say that most people don't quite understand just how far that is from like the semifinals or the CrossFit Games. That's why I say I'm an amateur. I was a distance runner back in high school, but that was 20 years ago this year. So I haven't done regular distance running since 2006. I've always done some kind of off-season focus after the CrossFit season. Usually that's Olympic weightlifting, growing my squat or deadlift, something strength focused that would help me stay focused in the off-season and hopefully get me better at CrossFit. I've always been a little underweight for the sport, so up to this point it's always been a strength focus in the off-season. I wanted to switch that up after working on my weaknesses year after year for a decade. I gained some weight over that time, up to 185, good weight, but 185 is pretty heavy for me. Before CrossFit, I was like 155, pretty on the smaller end. Before the Open this year, I tested a mile. I was coming back from an Achilles injury, and I ran my worst mile time that I can ever remember in a timed mile. It was like slower than I had ran in 8th grade. It was like 5:34. So I figured it was time to focus on the aerobic system. Quarterfinals ended in April. I did a move, blah, blah, blah. Essentially, I had 6 weeks to train for this Hyrox. I probably got 5 solid weeks in just because a lot of life stuff was going on. I ran 4 times a week, mostly at like 145 beats per minute or under. I did do like one threshold or interval training run a week. It was like 6 by 800 meters or 4 by mile, something like that. I was really shocked at how differently this felt than what I remember 20 years ago, but not shocked about that. I'm a lot heavier than I was back then. I simulated a few Hyrox workouts, one full simulation, race simulation, and one half. Both times felt all right, but the lunges and wall balls just buried me. I felt good up into the lunges, was able to power through lunges both times, and then both times just got completely buried by the wall balls. They took me over 7 minutes, the wall balls did, each time. Considering my CrossFit background, that was surprising to me. I can typically we have a workout called Karen. It's 150 wall balls per time at just under 5 minutes when I'm feeling good. So 7 minutes for 100 was kind of a shock. But after an hour of working out at a pretty high heart rate, it feels drastically different than doing 150 when you're super fresh and then calling it a day. So the race breakdown. So I went to New York. Now that you've got the context, I was competing in New York at the Langwan, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, Pier 76. My main goal was to get some good data. I had rented a hotel, paid for the race, trained for this for like 6 weeks, so I really didn't want to blow up and leave myself with like no data on what to work on. And I think I did that. My second goal was to finish sub 110, so sub 70 minutes. This was admittedly kind of arbitrary. I had targeted that based on what I saw some other really elite CrossFitters do, guys that are a lot better than me. So just threw that out there. Like I said, good news is I didn't blow up. My first run was in 4:22, which considering like how hyped up everyone is before the race, that wasn't terrible. I had planned on being very conservative on the first station, that's the ski, and I was able to do that. I did that in 4:18. That's including the transitions. So I was holding essentially a 2-minute per 500 ski for the whole time. That was my worst placing, besides the lunges, we'll talk about that later, of the event, but I was fine with that. I wanted to be conservative. My second run was a little hot, but nothing crazy. I did that in 3:58. My sled push was 4:15. I was a little conservative there. This course, we had to push it 6 times. 6 lengths, I should say. I paused at the middle of each length. Each length was like 25 feet. I had been told that the sleds are way heavier than people anticipated, and this is from CrossFitter, so people with a good strength background. So I didn't go crazy here. I finished 2/10 was my placing on this, so wasn't too upset with that. Run 3, I ran in 4:16, was feeling solid. Station 3 was a sled pull. I was prepared for this to be horrendous, and it wasn't nearly as bad as I had expected. Like I said, people told me it would be really hard. I only got to practice the sled pull like 2 or 3 times, just because I didn't have the setup for that quite yet. And I finished in 5:18. I got 177th on this particular station out of like 500 of the Pro Men's competitors. So starting to get faster on the stations. Overall, was pretty happy with that. Run 4, I was 4:34, not bad considering I just came off the 2 heaviest movements of the day. Station 4, burpee broad jumps. I finished in 4:05. I got 178th. This is where fatigue really started to stack up. Having never gone through a Hyrox course before, I had no clue how many lengths the burpee broad jump was. So I would get done with 1 length and be like, oh my God, I got another length, great. Run 5. Fatigue was really starting to stack up. I'm at the halfway point. Did this one in 4:59. I was probably mentally starting to focus too much on how much work I had left. In the future, just a note for me here, we'll try to just stay present, focus on the task at hand, but not terrible. Next station was the 1K row, so 1,000 meters on the row. I did that in 4:37, including the transition. I think I rode at like a 2:04 pace the whole time. I was a little mentally weak here, starting to feel bad for myself. Tired, obviously. I had planned on 2 minutes per 500, so I wasn't crazy far off that. But looking back, I wish I would have just stuck with that. It wouldn't have been terribly hard compared to 2:04. So lesson learned for the next race. Run 6, I rebounded well. I figured the farmer's carry wouldn't be terrible for me. So was right at like 4:30 pace on run 6. For the farmer's carry, 2 70-pound kettlebells, got 200 meters on the distance. Did this in 2:09. I was 176th overall on this station. I had committed to not dropping the kettlebells and walking fast. A lot of people are running on this station, but I wanted to make sure that I could do it unbroken in a race situation before I ran with them. I was able to do that. Luckily, I thought I was finished after my first lap, and a judge told me I had another lap, so totally saved me there, but was able to hold on. Run 7, second to last run, ran at 4:37, happy with that. Next, the lunges. All right, this is where it kind of fell apart for me. In the simulations, I was really mentally tough on these and then kind of fell apart on the wall balls. Here, I can't explain how tired I was. Legs were kind of just totally sapped of energy. I kept running into like another straightaway, not knowing when we were going to be finished, and that was pretty demoralizing. Some people around me were like dropping their sandbags, which triggers a really hefty time penalty. I kind of used that as an excuse to let myself slow down. So I'm like, past that guy, he's got a penalty. Big takeaway here is I just need to train really high rep lunges under a ton of fatigue. not something I do a lot or have done in the past couple years. Run 8, I was 5:38. This was our longest run. The entrance for the wall balls was on the other side of where we exit for the rest of the stations. So it's about 175-ish meters longer than the rest of the runs. So it was my slowest run by far. That was the case for everybody. I was a little conservative because wall balls had been killing me in the race simulations. Last station, 100 wall balls for time at 20-pound wall ball, for those of you who don't know. This took 6:19. It was my fastest station. Ironically, this is the thing that had been killing me in my simulations. My plan was to go 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 9. That equals 100. I kept that for 16, 15, 14, 13, and I think I dropped to 10s until I got to somewhere around 94 and then finished with my last set. I could tell I was catching people because there's a scoreboard above you, and then the people right in front of you are just on your right. I probably could have taken shorter breaks, but obviously I was pushing super hard at this time. My Garmin was like, I got a wrist watch, so my heart rate wasn't super accurate. It was saying I was at like 218 beats per minute or something. I don't think that's accurate, but didn't have any no reps, didn't get warned for depth or anything. So W CrossFit for teaching me good movement patterns. And I cruised in for the finish. Like I said, caught a couple people on wall balls, ended up being my fastest station. My fastest overall score was the rock zone, which is transitions between exercises or between the station and the run. I think that just goes to like me being a coach. It was something I was focused on. Like, you can lose a lot of time there. So I was really quick there. Second fastest station was the wall balls. Third was the farmer carry. So yeah, I am doing another one in October. I had a ton of fun with this. Gonna do at least one more in the beginning of October. So I've got 15 weeks to train for that. I hopped on a proper Hyrox program, so I'll follow that out. I'll build my mileage, work on these stations, and see if I can break that 70-minute barrier on my second attempt. So if you want to find out if I make it or are interested in this type of content, hit subscribe, and I'll keep you updated.